So let's talk about .NET with this PMA 132. And so here's my Windows 10 cloud machine. And let me make it as big as I can. All right. And get the instructions inside here. All right. And we are here. And down here there's .NET. And I learned this from the Flare On Challenge, which is made by FireEye. They have a CTF every year. There have been about 7 of them, and they're very good. And I've learned a lot by doing the easier challenges there. I'm not good enough to do the harder challenges, but I can do some of the easy ones, and some of these are based on that. So here's a file. Download this file. Save it. And I just took a file from that CTF and modified it a bit. I think this means it's still downloading. Yeah, okay. There, now it's done. Okay. So it's a zip file, so I want to unzip it. So it's right click, extract all, extract. Okay, and now I have a folder. And in the folder I got an exe and another exe. Now this file for some reason won't run easily, but you have to run it inside the debugger. I didn't figure out why, but I didn't really care because we have a debugger built in here, x64 debug. This is a 64-bit open source debugger, and one great thing about them is they all look just like Ollie, really. These are the same 4 panes. You know, Ollie had the great shape of the GUI, and everybody pretty much just uses the same GUI. And so the thing to open here is the unzip it. Okay, run challenge 1. Okay, so open challenge 1 in this, which is in the downloads folder where I just downloaded it, and then I unzipped it. And somewhere down here is challenge 1. Okay, there. So there's the 64-bit code that runs it, and all I'm going to do is run it in the debugger. And okay, it tells me I need .NET, so I'll download and install this feature. Now .NET, we're going to see how it works. .NET is Microsoft's competitor for Java. It runs code that is partially compiled down to something called bytecode. And this is actually very interesting and pretty seriously insecure. What it basically means is that every program you give end users includes the source code. The same thing's true of Android apps, and most developers, I think, do not understand that. So let's see if it's going to give me too much trouble downloading required files here. Well, it might be okay. Then again, it might be dying on me. Oh, it's doing something, installing. Okay, it does seem to be doing something. All right. All right. Good. Something was successfully installed. I might need to restart apps. All right. Let's see if I can do a debug restart. Yep, it looks like I can. Okay. Let's see if I can run this thing. It's running. It opened a window, and in that window, you see Bob Ross. And there's a decode button, and when you click decode, it turns into a dog, and this turns into garbage. and you're trying to find out what this ought to be. So that's all. And that is an app that runs in .NET. And so we are going to reverse engineer that .NET thing. So you run it to see it go. And now we're going to use CFF Explorer on that challenge 1, which is in the downloads folder here, actually in this PMA 132 folder. Okay, so download challenge 1. We'll look at it in CFF Explorer, which we've used before. And CFF Explorer tells me it's a portable executable 32.NET assembly. And all right, let me get my copy of instructions out here so I can follow them while filling that screen with stuff. All right. And so that's what I wanted to see there. All right. And now we are going to use ILSpy, which is where you see the really important stuff about .NET. So ILSpy is here. All right, and here, this is some stuff that's already been put in here about the .NET framework. And now we want to do File Open, and open the challenge 1, which is in Downloads, PMA 132, challenge 1. All right. And now you have this thing called challenge 1, and this is the way Java works. It's object-oriented, so you have a root object, and then you have an expanding tree of other objects here with resources and such. And what we want to do is expand the XXX here, and then form 1, and then find button decode, which is here. And then it's going to show you the code. And notice what's going on here. This is not assembly code. This is C# code. That's what I mean. What really is going on when you have .NET, the actual thing that's delivered is IL, which is called intermediate language, and you can get there here. This is what's actually distributed. This stuff called intermediate language, and this looks like assembly code, kind of. Call something, store a location, load a string, but this is what's called bytecode. It is machine-independent code. In Java, they call it bytecode, and in Microsoft calls it intermediate language. And the intermediate language maps one-to-one back to Visual Basic or C#. So you give them this, it runs in a virtual machine like Java, some kind of .NET virtual machine, which is what it had to download. The .NET environment this runs in, and you can reverse it right back to C#, and that's what this program does. So you can read C# code, which is of course much easier to read. And so here is the thing that fills in that text that came out scrambled. That one line, and you can just read this line. It's going to take the integer variable and shift it right 4 and do an OR with it shifted left 4. So that's going to take the right 4 nibbles and the left 4 nibbles in an 8-bit byte and flip them. And then it's going to XOR it or AND it with F0 and then XOR it with 29. That's what it does. This is just a little simple encryption that involves flipping a few bits around and doing an XOR. So you can see what the encryption is, and you can reverse it. And so this is the process, and it works on data, and the data it works on is resources dat secret. And you can find that by just going in here to resources and finding dat secret, which is right here. This is the encoded data. So you, in the right pane, you click the Save button, and you save that resource. There it is, dat secret. And I'm just going to call it dat secret to trim the name. That's the data. And now that I have it, I can just decode it with a simple Python script. And I've given you that script in the instructions, but you can, this Python script just undoes that. You see it does this right shift 4, this left shift 4, the ampersand and that. So you can reverse engineer it to get there. And there's other ones here, and this one's kind of fun too. MemeCat Battle Station has a a game where cats are shooting lasers at ships or something, and you can just you do this kind of thing. You can find the code here. So this is the thing about .NET .NET code. It's very easy to manipulate. You do not have to read assembly language or use a real debugger or anything. You basically are given source code that you can just modify. So I was at first, this seemed ridiculous to me, but I found out a lot of people use .NET, like the U.S. Army does. The first U.S. Army's bug bounty program, I signed up, I got in, I tried to do it, and everything was .NET, and I didn't know anything about .NET at that time, and I didn't get any prizes, but I learned that .NET really matters, and so I was pleased to start learning .NET from these Flare-On challenges. A lot of people use this stuff. I must say, I don't know why. It runs kind of slow. It's kind of like Java. But this is very popular. A lot of people love .NET code. So it must have some advantage that's not obvious to me, but security is not one of those advantages. Anyway, I wanted to point you to that. Getting a little practice with .NET is good for you.